Hey, what's up, La Familia? You crazy football-loving nutters. This is Ray Hudson, and you are luxuriating in listening to the Inter Miami podcast with the stupefyingly magnificent Jay and Alex. Two lads who are as electrifying as a hairdryer thrown into a hot tub. Stay tuned, because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be magisterial with an amplifier.
To the left, Pellegrini, inside, Pizarro Golazo! Here's the goal scorer, Morgan! And he's done it again! Lewis Morgan with a second of the match! Higuain will have the goal! And he's framed in top 90! It's a sensational first goal for Gonzalo Higuain!
I got to be honest, man, it feels so good to be able to be back in the States where I can put my head under the faucet and gorge on as much water as I want without having to worry about old Montezuma's revenge coming for me.
Oh boy, I bet there's a story, just like everyone has a story about Montezuma. Jay, is there a story you can share with us, or is everything just rated X and that's just for one around the beer table?
Nope. There's no stories coming out of that. An amazing 4 nights in Mexico, 3 in Tulum, 1 in Cancun. Actually, okay, I will tell one story. Last night in Cancun, night of the Gold Cup final. After, Tulum's like a jungle. It's like a holistic jungle. I mean, it is. There's like the 30 hottest days of the year in Mexico, and we were there at day 21. The heat was violently disrespectful. There was a lot of bickering that went on between the group because we were just in the heat for so long. And it really does take a toll. So for the last day, some people stayed in the hostel. Some people stayed at my boy who lives in Cancun's house. I was like, screw it. I'm going to drop the money. I bought a room at like a resort hotel with a casino and everything. So we all go over there. I just wanted some air conditioning. But we all go over there, go to the casino. We walk in expecting to gamble. And I've been trying to watch as much of the Gold Cup as I could on the TVs around because I can't stream any ESPN or anything on my phone due to being in Mexico. So we walk in this big room and it's just full of Mexico. I mean, we're in Mexico, full of Mexicans in there, massive TV projection, massive room. But there's like the bar, there's like open seats at the very front bar, only place to sit. So we all 8 of us go up there. My buddy Dom, who doesn't even watch any football or soccer, bought a Mexico national team jersey just because he was going to Mexico and wanted to represent. So like the workers like, oh, hey, what's up, man? They were like all hyped off him until they realized that we're all Americans and sitting at the bar with literally 100 Mexicans behind us. Only ones there rooting for USA. Miles Robinson hits the game winner at the very end of extra time, man. And we start cheering, and then we're like, whoa, we gotta draw it back in. We're like severely outnumbered with our backs to hundreds of people. But what a hell of a game and a hell of a night and a hell of a weekend in Mexico. But I might have permanently damaged my brain. Your boy's gonna take as many days off until it takes me to fully recover and get back to normal here. Probably gonna enjoy Sunday's game sober, man.
I mean, Jay, I've known you for a while, and I think this is a pretty quick recovery. Sometimes these things can last for days, maybe even weeks. But I think the best part about your story is actually your impersonation of the Mexican bartender. That is absolutely hilarious, by the way.
Hey, I picked up some new Spanish, man. It was a good time. It was a really good time. But coupled that after my birthday weekend, which you were there for, man, my body and brain are hurt.
Well, I'm sure the listeners don't really care about that, or if they do, go ahead and hit us up on private message, and we do have a few stories to tell about that weekend as well. But welcome, everybody, to the Inter Miami podcast. I am Alex Papa George, joined by Mr. Jay Kington, back from Mexico, back from his 32nd birthday party. We have him in the States for a while, everybody, which is nice to say that you won't be tormenting the rest of the world. But we did have football. We did have our rivalry match. Copa del Sol did happen this last Wednesday night, and not a loss. Our third game in a row without racking an L, which, Jay, that screams progress, my friend.
100%. It feels really good. We're on a 3-game unbeaten streak. We had a chance to win that game. We had a couple of chances. Of course, we'll get into we thought they were gonna win that game until the soccer gods finally showed some grace on us. But I do want to say, people, you're probably noticing a difference in audio quality. That's because we're not together, so we're doing this virtually over the interwebs just to make sure that we can continue to bring everyone content. But yeah, hell of a game. I'll go ahead and run through the stats real quick. Overall, possession-wise, it was 56% to 44%. Shot-wise, man, we got outshot. Like, it was crazy. They had 14, and we only had 4 shots. And I believe the first half stat line on that was like 9 shots to 1.
It was.
Yeah, shots on goal, though. Only 2 for us, 4 for Orlando. They had 3 block shots. We had 0. As far as total passes, man, 505 total passes for Orlando City, only 387 for Inter Miami. Passing accuracy was not too far off, 89% to 82%. Orlando had 7 corners. We had 4 corners. We had 2 offsides. They had 1. They were up on us on the duels 1. We were up on them on the tackles 1. And Marsman came up with 3 saves. Chippy game, dude. Really chippy game. Inter Miami 19 fouls. Orlando 12. No red cards, thank God. But man, Nani, was he up in the ref's face like all day, every day, or like, that's crazy, man. All he does is complain. We did have 1 yellow card that was on Pizarro shortly after entering, and Orlando City had 2. But overall, man, like you said, of course we want the win, but hey, we didn't lose, and that, sir, right there is progress.
I think that all Inter Miami fans were laughing at Nani and his absolute ballistic type of aneurysms on the court on the field to the referee. If you didn't take pleasure in that as an Inter Miami fan, I don't know what you were doing. We got to win these small little battles, and you can tell Nani was getting frustrated. He really wants to win that game, and that's what Copa del Sol is all about. We were talking to some fans out there, being told that they were getting joshed at. People were talking a little bit of smack to them in the stadium, and all I can say is weak showing, Orlando City, weak showing in attendance to that match. You come on down to La Familia and you know already what it is. So, their whole program, they're obviously the 2nd team in the Eastern Conference, but La Familia is still number 1 in the state of Florida.
Did you see the Reddit that fans shared on Twitter? Where
hilarious.
They're puny. Like they've small numbers, but they're louder than us. And then there was that video shared on the Facebook group where they're all jumping up and down in unison, yelling Orlando is a expletive Spanish word I'm not going to say because this is a family show. But now I know what the meaning is after 4 days in Mexico, because I thought they were saying, "What's up, man?" And that's not what they were saying to me in Mexico.
No, Jay, that's not what they were saying to you there, bud. But the coolest part about that is that, we talk about it each and every episode on the Inter Miami podcast. And that is just since this team's inception, La Familia and the fan base has traveled, has shown up in numbers. And if they don't have numbers, they're going to make 100 people sound like 1,000 people. Right. Mm-hmm. And, up until recently, it seems like it's been kind of like a one-way relationship. And I think the team has really picked it up over the last 3 games. Again, no L's, 2 ties, 1 win against some pretty tough competition. And it's nice to see the team reciprocating that type of energy and enthusiasm.
So neither of us could go to the game on Saturday against Montreal. I couldn't even watch it due to the whatever internet policies between Mexico and the United States. I even tried to use a VPN, but I did watch the highlights. I did watch after the game. Man, the whole squad went over to supporters, and I think every single player on that team pulled off a jersey and gave it to a supporter. I think that this team has realized that the supporters deserve better, and I think that they're starting to really play with an intensity. After Phil said, I told him to go home and look in the mirror. Do you really want to be here? These fans deserve better. They're the all-stars. So to see that sort of appreciation and recognition for standing by this team and unwavering and never going silent, always chanting was I think a very good move on the players' part. And I know all the fans are very, very pleased with the quick turnaround from that 6-game losing streak that we had.
You're absolutely right. And, Miami too, which has been super impressive. Listen, it's pretty easy to lose faith, lose confidence in your team when they're losing, right? That's the easy thing to do. And, I think Miami fans in general get a bad rap, whether that's the Miami Dolphins, whether that's the Marlins, whether that is kind of these South Florida based teams, But I think right now what we're seeing is a true fan base arrive and, support the team through the thick and thin. And obviously, we're pulling out of the bear market and we're jumping into the bull market, hopefully with Inter Miami. But, really the pivotal point, Jay, that I think that this season is starting to take a turn for us. And I don't know if we should start talking about playoffs maybe down the road. But listen, bud. The turning point of this entire season was when Gibbs and Marsman joined the club. And that first game against New England, in the grand scheme of things, that might have severely pissed them off, right? They did not come over to this team and get their ass beat by the New England Revs. And I think from that point, they must have taken a leadership role inside of the locker room, because you can start to see some of these players like, Higuain and, even Blaze getting the start here this last match after his little, I don't even know what you want to call it, but I guess you can kind of start to see that turning point happened really 3 games ago, and that is in the injection of Gibbs and Marsman in the starting lineup.
I could not agree more. I also think they brought in Shawcross to play a little bit of a leadership and mentorship role, although, his physical abilities are not what they used to be, and Gibbs still has obviously quite a bit of juice left in him. I mean, I thought he played phenomenal. Of course, he won the man of the match, but we'll go ahead and kind of discuss this, layer by layer. I know that you have some talking points, but I just want to say overall, without LGP, right, which is our best defender, really, kind of the heart of the defense, he was out on yellow card accumulation. I thought individually, everyone on the back line played a very, very good game. Nico was shielding properly, getting physical without getting carded, stopped a lot of plays. McCoon coming in to fill in that role of LGP, I thought had a really good game. Lots of key interceptions he made. Leerdam just really impressed me with his distribution out of the back. And then Gibbs was getting forward. Gibbs really was getting forward as a left back. And really from the very get-go, I think, second pass of the game, goes back to Leerdam, and then he just launches, switches the field of play, but really goes from that RB spot all the way up to Robbie on the wing. And that continued to happen between Robbie and Leerdam, or Robbie and Uyoya, or Uyoya and Gibbs. And Gibbs was running over past the midfield line. And it was really effective because they had some space there. Collectively, still got to get some issues together, but individually, really impressed with everyone on that back line.
And do keep in mind, Orlando City scores goals. They were without Daryl DK, but they had their full suite of players. And obviously Nani was playing pretty hard in this match. So this is not a offense like our next match of such as Nashville, right? That is a little bit more hold the line. This is a potent offense and attack, and they do score goals in the last third there. And, Jay, one thing to touch on about Leerdam was how beautiful it was to see him actually cross field, right? Mm-hmm. And that was something that we have lacked for a while. And to see him push the ball in ways that we hadn't yet maneuvered the ball around for really a year and a half was exciting. And seeing how, Gibbs brings a different type of attitude to the team, a very stoic type of attitude. But, in a team that's kind of, I guess infected with some of this, nonsense complaining to the referees. Another thing that's glared to me recently is that we've kind of stopped that complaining aspect as much as we were when we were in our rut, when we were in our hole. I think that we were just blaming too many of these variables that weren't going right on other people instead of looking at ourselves and saying, hey, we got to get better. And again, I think that that's a big contribution to Gibbs and Marsman. So hopefully this continues to roll.
Unless your name starts with Gon and ends with Zalo, yes, the complaining has stopped. But he was getting absolutely mobbed out there. But couldn't agree more. That goal, right? You're talking about a left back getting all the way up the field, running into the box, making some solo efforts in that box. That's what we need. We've talked so many times on this podcast about getting the right back or left back, or for playing wing backs, getting them forward and getting more into this offensive mind state. I feel like a lot of games we're trying to figure out, what are we doing? Like, how do we move around the midfield? And it's been a very kind of conservative style of play. And that's kind of how the first half started, which we'll get into. But that second half, man, you could tell, like, hey, if we could actually play a full 90 minutes like this, we could be lethal. I mean, everyone seemed to want to get up and wanted to be in the attack. And that's something that we've been lacking.
Absolutely. And I mean, kind of talk about, just let's focus on the goalie position here specifically. Just having Nick Marsman in the goal is just an absolute relief. There isn't that kind of, oh my God, if that's a shot on goal, that's going to be a point for the opposition. And I think that has really helped out the confidence in our back line. And, Marsman has played an important role with this whole thing. And Jay, to pivot back over to Gibbs, happy to see Gibbs get his first goal, but even happier to see him win the man of the match. And I think that is not going to be the last time that we see him win that award. And, Jay, just got to say, man, what a relief having Nick Marsman between the goalposts has been, besides our buddy John McSee. I had to get that McSee in there. But John McSee has seen the bench, and the team has definitely enjoyed the fact that Nick has taken over that starting spot. But let's keep it rolling, man.
Let's do it. So one of the main things that continually piss me off is Blaise Matuidi, man. Blaise making errors right away from the get-go. So many horrible errant passes, bad possessions, just soft passes, getting interceptions. You go to their very first goal, man, and Kalen was pretty spot on with the analysis. Like, you got the corner coming in, Nani's right over there, and then Matuidi's just over pissing off in the box. Like, go over there and make some issues. And you see Nani come in and no pressure, and he's able to get off that cross, which ultimately gets headed in, and get a little headbutting action. Then he falls to the ground and his head bounces off the turf. Pretty nasty injury, but mistakes all over the place from Matuidi. And in the second half, man, he was gassed. Like, he just doesn't have his legs anymore. And we're just going off in the Discord with all the listeners about, like, why is he playing? Why not put in Federico? Why not put in Indy for Matuidi? Like, Matuidi should be one of the first people subbed off. I really think that we would have a better record this season if we had someone who was more capable in that role. And I don't want to talk too much smack, but I'm looking forward to December once that contract's up and he's gone and we have a replacement, because he is not what he used to be. And to be fair, I'm not going to say he's a bad player, but there's a reason he wasn't on the France 2020 Euro squad, and he's played in teams that have tons of good players, which can make lesser players look great. And I know we were happy when we first signed him, but it's a constant frustration with Blaise Matuidi, and I don't know what the remedy is other than keep him on the bench.
The tough part about Blaise, and I got to ask you, and I'm sure I already know the answer to this, but did you have an issue with Blaise Matuidi starting after that event with Pogba?
I didn't really have an issue with the event with Pogba, where he left and chilled with him after halftime. I didn't really have an issue because, he hadn't started, I think, in 2 games prior to that. But I do have an issue with playing him for 90 full minutes. It's very similar to Gonzalo. It's hard to get a 90 minutes out of Gonzalo just because of the fitness level and the age. I just, that's expected, right? That part of being old is expected with Matuidi, but horrible passing, horrible turnovers, and it's his fault that the goal was scored. And you contrast that with another veteran coming in like Gibbs, who played a phenomenal game and who I look forward to watching in the future. But with Blaise, I don't think Blaise should play any more than 60 minutes of any game at any given time.
Tough part about Blaise too is the fact that we brought him over here on a DP spot, and he's probably going to cost us 3, over the next few years. That whole deal and setup was really kind of the cherry on the ice cream sundae, as we may say, to the whole investigation tipping over and, Inter Miami getting in some trouble. Not saying that we should have done what we did, but, it's not illegal until you get caught. And we got caught.
That's true. And, we are going to have 2 years of sanctions. They haven't started. They're coming. You see that report by the Atlantic that everyone's sharing. Like LGP, Pizarro, Leardam. They're trying to shop them out. They're trying to cut their wages. They need to be able to clear out $1 million every single year for the next 2 years. And I just hope that we can figure it out. We need to start focusing on our academy players in Fort Lauderdale CF. We need Edison Ascona to get some minutes. We need Valencia to get some minutes. We need Sammy Gadiri to get some minutes, because we could sign them to low-wage contracts and be able to bridge that gap for 2 years. But, man, we're going to be in a world of pain if we don't figure something out quick over the next couple of years.
The tough part, too, is that the fact of Blaze and Pizarro losing some of that value, right? That a team is really an accumulation of assets, no matter how you look it up. And, having 2 players that you brought in on such a high ticket price, when you look to resell them and the value of that is 50 cents on the dollar, that's a disadvantage for anyone who's doing business. And keep in mind, everyone, this is very much a business. But who has been bringing the business recently, Jay? That is Robbie Robinson. He has been playing lights out. He has been an injection of energy in our club, and he was robbed of a goal that actually was preceding Antonio Carlos's goal, which, boy, he paid a hefty fine for that goal with an obvious concussion to him. That guy hit the ground limp. I hope he's okay, to be honest. I was actually kind of shocked and rubbing my eyeballs thinking like, oh my God, are they about to put him back in the game? But, hope he's doing all right. But, Robbie's been one of those players just over the last few weeks, especially when we've really picked up the pace, coming back from multiple reoccurring hamstring injuries, which we know how aggravating those types of injuries can be, especially for a sports star, let alone, Jay or myself. But Robbie has played very, very well. He has brought the energy. And even at the end of the game, you can kind of see him taking some shots that maybe his teammates, Lewis Morgan and Gonzalo, were a little bit more pressing to give them the ball. But honestly, man, I like him taking the ball and ripping a shot, dude. Like, hey, listen, we have lacked in this department for the last year and a half someone who has that aggressive attitude when he gets to the box. And if that's going to be Robbie for our club, then hey, all the more power to him.
He's a shifty little kid, isn't he, man? I love his little body feints, and then the decisiveness to go one way or the other, create some space. Really, really happy with him, honestly. We've had, there's been these periods where we regret not taking DK, and we haven't really been able to see the production from Robbie. So to see him come back healthy and be able to be an outlet for Gonzalo and take some chances. Beautiful solo effort to get that goal. He tried to chip it. It was headed off the line. I think if he just tries to blast that, hit a little worm burner, that very well could have converted for a goal. And then, the second half, I saw him get knocked a couple of times. He was down for a while, and I was just like, no, like, please don't be injured. Get him out of there ASAP, Phil. Preserve him. We need him. He is a talent, and I think that he could remedy any of the regrets that we had not taking DK once he really starts to get some experience and up his MLS playing ability. Once he gets comfortable, really, really impressed with Robbie. Cannot say enough. I think he's what this team's been missing. We played great opening game against LA when we had him. The 6-game skid's basically been without Robbie. So to see him come back and start to make an impact, very, very impressed.
You know what I would like to see in the next few weeks is, I don't know why, man, but I would just love to see Robbie up top and, maybe give Gonzalo a game off, let him rest his legs. We know how his conditioning program is a little bit more challenging than the rest of the players on the team, and give Robbie a shot up top at striker and just see what he can do. Right. And again, we always talk about, that's his natural position. You're absolutely right. At Clemson, that's what he was playing. When he brought over here, that very well might have been the position that he was playing if we didn't have Higuain on the club. Higuain was acquired mid last season when Robbie was our first overall draft pick at the very inception of the club. So that's what I would like to see. And regardless of if he's on the left or in the middle, Robbie has been a true joy to watch recently.
He really has. So impressed. I really look forward to seeing him continue to grow. And then his link-up play with Gibbs down that left-hand side will be something to really keep an eye on, because if they can get some sort of chemistry down, that could be the main avenue that we take to go on to the attack.
Agreed, sir. I think the combination and the chemistry, more importantly, that we are learning day by day, week by week, game by game is super important to the development of this club. And we do have football right around the corner. We're releasing this podcast on Friday. We have a match on Sunday at 6:00. It is a home game, everyone. It is a home game. So bring the noise. You know it. La Familia will be live at the stadium getting ready for this frisky battle against Nashville. Nashville, Jay, is always and forever going to be linked with Inter Miami. We were two clubs who started as an expansion team on the very same year, and that was last year. And Nashville definitely outplayed us over the course of last season. We're looking to get back more of that credibility. And Jay, how excited are you to see the club jump back on the pitch and take on Nashville this weekend?
I'm very excited. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I think the first game we lost, second game we drew, then the third game was that play-in game where we got beat down 3-0 where I just shut off the TV and I think you went home, right? Two teams built completely different. We were going for more of an attack, big name, flash. They built it from the back from a defensive standpoint. But I'm ready for this. They're a team. They've got 6 wins, 10 draws. That's what they're kind of known for, is drawing. They only have 1 loss. So they are a tough team to beat. They do park the bus per se. Very, very strong defensive team. They try and beat you on the counter. Obviously, I think I can speak for the both of us. We really do like Randall Leal. We think he's a very talented player. And then Hani Mukhtar is really coming into his own in this league. He is I saw the hat trick he had a couple games ago from about every, I think one was right foot, one was left foot. I think one was and then the free kick. But they're not an attacking first team. They're a counterattack team. So the main focus here for the boys is, we can't do that thing where we did first half against Orlando, come out in a 4-3-3, which we don't usually do. I like the 4-3-3, but we had a holding midfield of Blaze, Grigore, and Uyoya, all defensive-minded players. If we're going to beat this team, we're going to have to find a way to break down this very, very stout defense. I mean, Walker Zimmerman, obviously one of the best in the league at defending. It's going to be a tough game. I don't see this being a high-scoring affair at all. I think if we can go up, then we've got to try and do our best to defend, because they always somehow weasel in a way to draw up a game and walk home with a point. It's going to be a battle, but it's in our house with our fans, which is nice. And I'm looking forward to it, man. If I'll tell you what, we're in the toughest little stretch of the season right here. I would love a win. That is a tall order against such a defensive-minded team. But if we can just go out there, secure a draw, keep this unbeaten streak extended, again, that's progress, and that's what we'll continue to see. But it's going to be – we can't come out like we did the first half. We got to come out and we got to get some shots up. We're going to probably need more than 10 shots to win this game, and we're going to need certainly more than 2 on target to win this game. But that's what I'm looking at.
Totally agree with your assessment, sir. Leal and Mukhtar are 2 people you want on your fantasy team.
And
there
shout
is
out our
no
boy
doubt.
Dylan Nealis. Didn't mean to cut you off, but shout out our boy Dylan Nealis.
Yeah, well, Dylan Nealis can take an L this week, bud. But
and your second most hated player, Dax McCarty.
Oh, Dax. Dax, you dirty dog. He is the front runner for the Trout Award that we will be giving out at the end of the season. Wow. Yes, he is still leading the pack very much this season. Jay, I'm glad you brought him up. But I don't know if Walker Zimmerman will be playing. He did suffer an injury in the Gold Cup in our match against Canada. So we'll see if he's back. Obviously,
that's right.
He is a bang-up player. He was the defensive player of the year last year. And talk about a big piece to fill out an expansion club. The one point about Nashville, though, that stands out to me beyond, their strategy and their style of kind of sitting on the ball, if you're a gambling person, and I urge everyone to be gambling people.
No, we don't. We do not encourage that. Don't listen to this man.
Take the under on this game. Take the under. This is definitely going to be an under match. And, Jay, the one thing that pops out to me is the fact that you're right. They have only 1 loss to their name this entire season, and that was June 18th. So it's about 2 months ago against the New York Red Bulls. But if you look deeper at this, bud, they've also never won an away game. So let's not give them that first victory in an away match this season. They do not have any victories on the road. They only have ties and losses. So, again, this is going to be a bang 'em up type of game. We gotta lace up our big boy shoes for this one. Right now, Nashville in the standings is sitting at 4th place in the Eastern Conference. And they have, Jay, do you know how many points they have here? They have rolling up 28 points. So they're averaging about 1.65 points per game. They have 28. They are sitting right in between the Philadelphia Union in the 3rd slot and the NYCFC in the 5th slot, which, keep in mind, people, we have NYCFC in our following game after Nashville. And yes, that will end the gauntlet of games that we have been going through. And in case you were wondering, Inter Miami is still sitting in the 14th seed in the Eastern Conference with 13 points.
Still 2 games behind, though.
Still 2 games. We're going to cling on to that one for a while here. But Toronto and Chicago are the 2 teams that are above them on the table, and they only have 1 more point. So let's do a little leapfrogging this weekend and get in front of them.
Let's do it. And I think, obviously no one likes losing, but we've done quite a bit of that. We're actually pretty good at that. But I think something, not our best thing we got going for us, but something serious that we have going for us is people view us as the worst team in the league. So go ahead and underestimate us. Give us that room. Take it easy. Don't sprint so hard. We suck, Be a little lax with your passing. We're not that good. And then hopefully we can swoop in there and get a winner on him. I would love to, nothing more than love to win this game. But I'll tell you what, I'll be very, very happy. A very close second is just a draw.
I hear you, bud. Well, maybe with that, we should just get out there when the game starts, just lay down on the pitch and just say, hey, go at it, guys. But we'll see how the team plays. It's going to be an exciting one, and we'll be back with you next week.
Yeah, it's been a weird schedule, obviously traveling, and we're trying to link up, doing it virtually just to get the content out there. Hopefully, I know we still have to get those catch-up games in, but hopefully we can get back on a regular schedule. But just wanted to share some love. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the Inter Miami Podcast. I'm Jay Kington, alongside mis compadre por vida, Mr. Alex Papa George.
It says Spanish at work.
There we go. We'll see you guys out there at the stadium on Sunday. If you don't already, check out our social media, Facebook, Twitter at Inter Miami Podcast. Facebook, Instagram at Inter Miami Podcast. Twitter is Inter MIA Podcast. And with that, we leave you as we always do. Vamos Miami.
Vamos Miami.